Okay, what's we're heading back into Masechet Sanhedrin. We're on Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph 23A in the art scroll. We have to have a little bit back knowledge about from last week or from the last year. So just to head back to the Mishnah a little bit, the Mishnah said there was two cases and two machlokas. What are the two cases? The first part of the Mishnah said that each one chooses a judge. Each litigant, so you have two litigants, two people in the court case, they choose judges. Now, Rabbi Meir said, Ze posel dayano, that he can disqualify the other judge. So here's the case. Reuven and Shimon, they're in a court case. Reuven brings Levi and Yehuda as his witnesses, and Shimon brings A and B as his witnesses. So yeah, Levi and Yehuda, A and B. And now, Reuven comes and says, Shimon, your judge, I don't like. I'm postling. Rameir says you can do that. The Chachamim said, no, you can't postle a judge. You can't just say you can disqualify a judge unless there's a reason to disqualify the judge, which would be either that he's a relative of the litigant or he is postled because of another reason. He's an Eved, he's actually a slave, or he's doing Averot that would not be allowed for him to be a judge. So then you can postle him. The same thing with the witnesses. Rabbi Meir says, if Shimon brings witnesses, Reuven can say, I disqualify your witnesses. Chachamim say you can't do that. Witnesses are witnesses. You can't just disqualify them unless you have a reason. Either they are relatives of him, or they're pasul because they either are doing averot that would make them pasul. Okay, so again, just to explain last week's shir, the Mishnah had a case as follows. Reuven and Shimon are in an argument. They come to Beit Din. Now they're choosing their own judges, right? They're not going to the Beit Din of the city, but they're choosing their own judges for this Beit Din, for this court case. Rabbi Meir says that Reuven can disqualify any judge that Shimon chooses. So Shimon chooses a judge, and Reuven can disqualify them. Same thing with Shimon. Shimon can disqualify the judge that Reuven picks. Some say you can't do that unless there's reason to disqualify them. Either they're a pasul a judge, they're doing averot that would make them pasul, or they're a relative of one of the litigants, which would make them pasul. The same thing comes with witnesses. Mishnah says, Rabbi Meir says that he can just disqualify witnesses. Witnesses come, and Rabbi Meir says, don't want you, which is a big problem, because how are you going to have any court case if you just disqualify witnesses? If someone's going to come and say, I saw that you borrowed $10,000, and I say, no, I don't trust them, throw them out. According to Rabbi Meir, the simple understanding of the Mishnah is that Rabbi Meir says he can do that. Some say, no, you can't do that with the witnesses. In order to throw out witnesses, you have to either prove that they are pasul, they are people who play, who gamble, people do other avirot that would make them forbidden as being witnesses, or that they are a relative of the litigants. Okay, that is the background that we really need for today's Gemara. So we're starting on 23A3 in the art scroll, bottom left, Ze Posel Dayano. This is Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, about 8-9 lines from the bottom at the two dots. Okay, so Rabbi Meir says that he can just disqualify a judge. And the Gemara asks, Kol Kiminei de Pasil Dayane, since when does a litigant have the power to disqualify a judge? If the judge is a judge, how do you just throw him out? You can't do that. So Rabbi Yochanan says, now you have to understand what the Mishnah is talking about. Rabbi Meir is not talking about in every case. Rabbi Meir is talking about a specific case. If you remember from last week, we talked about Ba'arkaot Shebesurya Shanu. We learned about the Arkaot Shebesurya. Surya, we said, was a Jewish community, but there are very, very, very few Talmidei Chachamim. Actually, there were no Talmidei Chachamim in Surya, but they needed Beit Din. They didn't have any scholars to put on the Beit Din, so they took people from elders in the community and they made them to be the judges, but they weren't judging al pi din Torah based on the halachas of the Torah. Rather, they were judging based on their own knowledge and life experience. So when Rabbi Meir says you can cancel a judge, he's not talking about a real judge. A real judge who has smicha, who is a mumche, who's an expert. Rabbi Meir would agree you can't cancel them out. You can't just disqualify them. But when it comes to these secular judges, they're not judging based on Torah, rather their own knowledge. That is where Meir said that Reuven can disqualify Shimon's judge, and Shimon can disqualify Reuven's judge. It's in a case where it's a secular judge. Now the Gemara says, so 1 second, you're telling me of a mumchum loy? Are you telling me that Reb Meir holds you cannot disqualify an expert judge, a mumchet, an expert judge? Look towards the end of the Mishnah. Ha midikatani seifa. Look what it says towards the end of the Mishnah. What does it say at the end of the Mishnah? The Chachamim say, "Hey Mosai, when can you cancel a judge? When you can bring a proof that they're either relatives or that they're pasul, then you can get them out. Aval im hayu keshirin, if they are kosher with judges, or they're experts, then you cannot cancel them out." So we see that the Chachamim are telling Reb Meir, we're arguing with you and telling you that you can't cancel mumches. Miklal, the fact that the Chachamim are saying you cannot cancel an expert, Miklal de Reb Meir mumchem nami ka'amer, must mean Rabbi Meir holds you could cancel out experts. So it's the Gemara is using the Mishnah to imply what Rabbi Meir holds. The Chachamim say you can't cancel an expert. Rabbi Meir is arguing with the Chachamim. So if the Chachamim say you cannot cancel an expert, that means Rabbi Meir holds you could cancel an expert. Rabbi Yochanan wanted to tell me that Rabbi Meir says you cannot cancel an expert. You can only cancel a secular judge. So what do? This Mishnah seems to say it's not like Rabbi Yochanan. So now we have to explain Rabbi Yochanan's understanding that Rabbi Meir says you can only cancel a secular judge and not an expert judge, and we have to explain this Mishnah. So Hachi Ka'amar. The Gemara says this is what the Mishnah means. The Mishnah is not talking about expert judges. That the Chum say you cannot cancel the expert judge, and therefore Rabbi Meir holds you could cancel the expert judge. That's not what that part of the Mishnah is talking about. Hachi Ka'amar, this is what the Mishnah says. Aval im hayu kesherin. If they were kosher judges, meaning they're not secular people, they are Talmidei Chachamim, just not experts, but they're kosher judges. They're good judges, not Arkiot Shibasturia. They're kosher judges. Na'asukim umchin, we make them like experts. Mepi bedin ve'eni yachol leposlan. So we're going to compare them to being like experts, and you can't cancel them. So now the Mishnah is saying, if you have kosher people being on the judges, we compare them to experts and you don't cancel them. That's what the Chachamim are saying. That means that Reb Meir and the Chachamim are only arguing about kosher judges who are not experts. Okay? That's what they're arguing. But when it comes to experts, even Reb Meir would agree you can't cancel them. And that's the way the Gemara wants to set it up at this point. Now the Gemara again wants to disagree with Rabbi Yochanan. Tashma, we have a proof in the Braita. Omer Lord, the Rabbi Meir, the Braita says, they said, the Chacham said to Rabbi Meir, Loi kol hemeno sheposel dayin shemumcha l'rabim. It is not in the litigant's power to disqualify a mumcha l'rabim, an expert to the judge. So you see, the Chachamim are telling Rabbi Meir, you cannot disqualify a judge who is an expert to the public. Meaning the Reb Meir says you could disqualify an expert. And now you cannot come and switch the words like you try to do in the Mishnah, because it says it straight up that he's saying that you could disqualify an expert judge. So the Gemara says, no, you don't understand the Braita. Ema, this is what the Chachamim are saying in the Braita. Lo kol hemeno sheposel dayan shehimehuhu rabim alehem. It doesn't mean mumche l'rabim. It doesn't mean an expert judge. When they're saying you cannot cancel a judge in that Braita, they're talking about a judge who's not an expert, but he has authorization. Someone gave him permission to. He's not a mumcha. He's not an expert, but people accepted him to be a judge, And this is the case that they are arguing in. So when it comes to an expert, Rabbi Meir would still agree you cannot disqualify it. So far, this is what we have, just to review on the outside. We have Rabbi Meir saying you can cancel a judge. You can disqualify a judge. Mar's question was, how can you disqualify judges? You can't do that. So Rabbi Yochanan says, no, it means secular judges. Gemara says, but we see from the Mishnah implies that Rabbi Meir says even an expert judge you can cancel, and the Chachamim say you cannot. So they wanted to say, no, when the Mishnah said that, it didn't talk about experts, talking about kosher judges, not experts. Then they brought a Braita. The Braita says, they told Rabbi Meir, you can't disqualify an expert judge. So you see, Rabbi Meir says you could. And Gemara says, no, that Braita doesn't mean that. That means someone who the public agreed upon, but is not still a mumche. That really, you cannot disqualify a mumche. Taninami hachi. And now to bring support to this, we have as follows, a Braita that says, Le'olam posel v'holech. Forever, he can continue to reject judges. Achi kabel alav bedin shemumche l'rabim. Until they get to an expert judge, a real expert judge, then he can no longer cancel the judges. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Yes, mumche means an expert judge. Until they get to a mumche l'rabim, the judge who's an expert and everyone knows about him, then you cannot disqualify him. Divrei Rabbi Meir. So we have a explicit Braita that goes with Rabbi Yochanan that says Rabbi Meir holds you can disqualify judges up until you get to a public expert judge, an expert who the public acknowledges as being an expert in mumche. He has smicha. He's an actual official judge. Until then, you can cancel. Once you get to him, you can't cancel. So far, what we have is Rabbi Yochanan Pshat. The Rabbi Meir said you can cancel judges until you get to an expert mumche judge. Now I told you the second part of the Mishnah was Rabbi Meir says you can cancel witnesses, right? So now the Gemara says the ha'edim, where in the Mishnah Rabbi Meir says you can cancel witnesses, kimumhim damim. They're really like mumches, like expert judges, because there's no such thing as an expert witness. A witness is a witness that saw what happened, and now he says it. That's the case of a witness. If the Meir says you can disqualify witnesses, then you could definitely disqualify expert judges. That's the Gemara's question. If you're telling me I can just nilly-willy just disqualify a witness, then why shouldn't I be able to disqualify an expert judge? It's the same thing. Their qualifications to be a witness is perfect, and his qualification to be a judge is perfect. So if I can disqualify a perfect witness, I can disqualify a perfect judge. That's the Gemara's question. Rav Meir said, Zeh postel edav shel zeh, and Zeh postel edav shel zeh. The Reuben can disqualify Shimon witnesses, and Shimon can disqualify Reuben's witnesses. I don't know how you're going to have a court case. Okay, everyone just to keep disqualifying each other's witnesses. So now, this is a very strange statement to say you can disqualify witnesses. Itmar Allah. It was stated regarding this. Amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said, Peh Kadosh, this holy mouth, the Rabbi Meir. Peh Kadosh Yomad Davar Zeh. It cannot be that he said such a thing, because it doesn't make sense that you can say you can disqualify witnesses. It says in the Torah, Pishnei Eidim Yokum Adavar. Two Eidim come and they say it. That's it, and that's what you listen to. So how can Rabbi Meir say you can just disqualify witnesses? Cannot be. That's what he said. So instead of saying Edav in the Mishnah, which means Eidim, witnesses plural, he changes the word to say Teneh Edo. It means witness, one witness. So when Meir says you can disqualify witness, it means one witness, not two witnesses. Now the Gemara says, hold on. What are you doing with one witness? What can one witness do? Edo lemai. What can you do with one witness? If you want to get Shimon to pay you money, Rahmana Pasaleh, the most merciful one. Who is the Rahmana? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pasaleh. He already made it impossible to make someone to take money out of him with one witness. The Torah says you have to have two witnesses. You cannot take away money from someone with one witness. If you want to make him swear, we then believe him as if he's two. What does this mean? If I come and I say that Ephraim owes me $20,000, I now find one witness, to say that he saw Ephraim borrow from me $20,000. Because I have one witness, Ephraim needs to swear that he doesn't owe me money. Okay? Yeah, I can cause him to swear. I can cause him to swear based on one witness, but I can't take money out of him until I have two witnesses. So one witness is good for swearing, but one witness is not good for taking money out of him. So what do you mean that I can get rid of one witness? The Torah says one witness is good for swearing, but one witness, by the way, this is a halacha. One witness can make you swear, and one witness cannot make you pay. Anyway, what am I doing with this? How can I possibly this one witness? So the Gemara says no. It's really to get money out of him. What's this case? So me and Ephraim, we have this case. Ephraim now owes me $30,000. I'm gonna keep bringing up the money. All right. So he owes me $30,000. All right. And I say, Ephraim, and I tell the whole beit and all the judges, I said, listen, I only have one witness. Can we accept this one witness as two? Ephraim says, sure, I'll accept this one witness as two. I accept it. So now I bring in Beryl. Beryl comes in. Beryl says, Ephraim owes him $30,000. And now Ephraim says, yeah, I don't know nothing. I don't trust this one witness. But you agree? No, I don't agree anymore. Can he do this? This is the case. The mayor says you can pass one witness, is where the litigants agreed to use one witness as if they were two. And then later on, he decides he doesn't want to listen to that one witness as being two. And he wants to get rid of that one witness. That is the case. Now, what does this mean? The Motzei Hadarbe, that later on he could retract. He could retract from accepting one as two. Well, the Gemara says, why do I need you to teach me this? Tanina, we're going to learn in the next Mishnah in this parak. Amar loy, Neman alai Abba. Okay, we're choosing judges. And I say, I want my father to be my judge. And Ephraim says, sure. Or Neman alai Avicha. Or Ephraim says, I want his father is going to be the judge in the court case. And I say, sure, let your father be. Or Neman alai Gimel Ro'ei Bakar. Or we say, we're going to go to the bazaar, find 3 shepherds and tell them, come, you be our judges. People who shouldn't be judges for us. Or people who should not be judges. Now, I agree, you agree. We start the court case. Now, all of a sudden, Ephraim doesn't want them anymore. Or I don't want his father. His father is saying, I owe him $50,000. So now I don't want his father being the judge anymore. According to Rabbi Meir Omer, Yochel L'chazer boy, can go back and retract. He can say, that's it. I don't want his father to be. He says, I don't want my father to be. He says, I don't want these shepherds to be. He can just go back and retract on it. The Chachamim say, you can't go back. If you agree to them to be the judge, you be the judge. So you see, we have the next Mishnah already teaching us that you could go back if you choose a judge that's not proper. So maybe accepting a witness, why do you have to teach me twice? That's going to be the Gemara's question. Anyway, before we go on to the question, Amr Abdimi Berei Dev Nachman, Berei Dev Yosef, Kigon de Kabel Bechad. Meaning, if I have 2 kosher judges, and then my father or Ephraim's father is sitting on it, so 2 kosher judges and one who's not, still in that case, the mayor says you can cancel the whole court case by going back and saying, I don't want that one judge, and the whole court case falls apart. Okay, you can retract on that one. So now, the Gemara's question is, why do you, if we're learning like Resh Lakish, now the Mishnah is talking about one witness. And one witness that it means accepted as 2. And then he goes back and he cancels that, he doesn't retract. Why do I need you to teach me this in this Mishnah? I already have it in the next Mishnah that I can go back on a decision that's not proper. So the Gemara says, Shricha, it is needed. Both Mishnayot are needed. Why? If you just taught me fathers on the court case as judges, I would say, this is where the rabbis say you cannot go back on your word. Because my father and your father can actually be kosher judges for different court cases. They are kosher judges. They're just not for our court case. But if two other random people needed judges, my father and your father could be their judges. So that's why the Chachamim say you cannot go back on that. But to take one witness and say it's two, it's never the case that one is two. One is one. One is not two. So so maybe the Chachamim would agree to Rabbi Meir and say that you could cancel one witness who you accepted as two. Maybe that's what you would hold, because only by father they would say you have to keep it because they're kosher in other cases. But if one witness is never two, maybe they would agree. So the Mishnah teaches us no. The Chachamim say you cannot cancel that. That's why you need that one. Now the other way, and if you only taught us this case in our Mishnah that you can cancel one witness, then the high common Rebbe Meir. This is the case that Rebbe Meir says then you can get rid of a witness because it's only one witness. But in the case of the fathers, maybe he will agree to the Rabbanon and say that they are really kosher in other cases. So maybe you just leave them and you don't cancel them. Therefore, each case is needed because you would not be able to learn one from the other. So at this point, we have Reish Lakish's opinion in Rebbe Meir. And the opinion is when you have one witness that you accepted as two, you can cancel him out. You can cancel him out and say, I no longer agree that one is two. Very, very nice. However, this is problematic. This Reish Lakish's opinion is going to have to go out the window. Look at the Gemara. The Gemara says, Dayano. It says in the beginning of the Mishnah, it says his judge. And it says it in singular tense, right? And then Besefa Edav. And then it says witnesses towards the end. Now, Alma Dafik Ketani. It's done on purpose. Because, remember the Mishnayot were written to be memorized. So what happens? They're written to be memorized. So what happens? A lot of time the Mishnayot are written in parallel language. The language is parallel in order to make it easier to remember. Sometimes the Mishnah doesn't actually mean certain things, but it just uses the same Lashon to remember it. But in our Mishnah, the Mishnah changes its language from singular to plural. If it was done lavdafka, if it was done not on purpose, it would have used the same language. The fact that it changed singular to plural means the Mishnah did it on purpose, because that's the halacha. So it says edav and not edo. It says witnesses and not witness. So Reish Lakish's opinion of one witness, that's not the case, because that says edav. So now we're going back. Witnesses are perfect. So if you can cancel a witness, you can cancel a judge. So what does it mean canceling witnesses? You won't have a court case. So what does this mean? Now you have to have another understanding in Rabbi Meir's Shita. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Bevahu ve'acher leposilan. It's where the litigant, the Reuven and Shimon, are in a court case. Reuven brings two witnesses. Shimon and one other guy. Shimon brings one witness. So Shimon, the litigant himself, and one witness come, and they now pasel the witnesses. So Reuven, Shimon himself, the litigant, and one more person. That's the case. The Elazar wants to say. Gemara says, whoa. Kol kimine nogea be'eda tohu. He's nogea bedavar. I mean, this litigant, you can't trust anything the litigant says, or anything Shimon says. Why? He's involved in the court case. Of course he wants to pasel Reuven's witnesses. I don't want to pay a fine $50,000, so I'll come up with any idea. I'll say he's pasel. This guy, he's not even Jewish. I'll make up all sorts of stories. Hey, I don't know anything. So he's gambling in Atlantic City all day. His witnesses are all gamblers. I'll just cancel him out, right? So you can't believe him. So Gemara says, how can you come and say that it's the litigant and one other witness that comes to cancel out Ephraim's two witnesses? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Acha b'Reid Rav Ika, Kigon shekara alav ar. It's where he comes along and he puts a ar, which means a flaw on the witness. What type of flaw? Ar demai. What type of flaw? Ilema ar de gaz lanuta. If he says that Ephraim's witnesses, I say they're thieves, they steal. Proof that they stole, right? Can't do that. Kol kimine negeb edatohu. He's involved in their testimony. He's canceling them out directly by saying that they're thieves, so you can't trust them. Ela, what happens? I don't say anything about those two witnesses, but rather I come and I say, do you know that witness, we'll call him Beryl. Beryl, he's actually not really a free man. He's actually an Eved. An Eved is like an Isha, and they cannot give testimony according to the Torah. So therefore, you can't trust this guy because he's an Eved. And an Eved cannot give testimony. So I'm not canceling him out, but I'm disqualifying his whole family, the whole mishpacha. Rameir says, Rameir says it's not direct. It's not directly canceling out the witness. Rather, he's disqualifying the whole family, and happens that this witness also gets disqualified. The Rabbanan say, listen, soft, in the end of the day, he's canceling out their testimony. He himself, even though you think it's indirectly, he's still canceling out their testimony. Therefore, he cannot do it. And that's the case according to Rabbi Elazar. According to Rabbi Elazar, the time where he said you can cancel witnesses is where he and another guy, the litigant, Shimon, and another witness come and say that the other two witnesses are avadim, or their families have a psul, that they're not allowed to be witnesses. That's the way Rabbi Elazar wants to explain Rabbi Meir that says you could cancel witnesses. Now, the Gemara is going to come and give another explanation into Rabbi Meir's shita that you can cancel witnesses. Ki ata Rav Dimi amar Rabbi Yochanan. Machloket b'shtei chitei edim. The case here in the Mishnah, according to Rav Yochanan, right, in the name of Rav Dimi, in the name of Rav Yochanan, is where there are two sets of witnesses. Okay, what happens over here? Listen to this case. Me and Ephraim, we're in the court case. Ephraim owes me $50,000. So he owes me $50,000. And I come in and I say, Ephraim owes me $50,000. And not only do I have one set of witnesses, I have two sets of witnesses. Beryl and Shmerel, Tony and John. Okay, those are the four people, two sets of witnesses. This is what I say. Not one, I have two sets of witnesses. Now, Rabbi Meir Savar, Rabbi Meir holds, once I was Dan Kalon, I had a big mouth, and I said I have two sets of witnesses. Tzarich livarer. I have to now prove it. I have to bring two sets of witnesses. So comes Beryl and Shmerel, and then the court says, no, where's the other two witnesses? I say they can't come. The mayor says, court cannot proceed. You need to bring everybody. The Rabbanan Savra, the rabbis hold, in saruch levarer. You do not have to show all your witnesses. As long as you have one set of kosher witnesses who can give the facts, that's it. So now, how does this case play out? Way Rashi in his first understanding. By the way, there's many ways to learn this Gemara. Rashi has two pshatim, and Tosfos has another pshat, and Shor the Rishonim have different pshatim. We really went with Rashi's first explanation, as does the art school go, as does the Steinsaltz. Most explanations go with the first pshat. So if you heard the Gemara in a different way, don't be surprised. There are different ways to learn this Gemara. However, according to Rashi's first pshat, Rabbi Meir is saying as follows. Rabbi Meir holds that you need to show all the witnesses. You said you have two sets of witnesses, they all have to show up. So Rabbi Meir says you can cancel a set of witnesses. Which set? The first set. Because Rabbi Meir holds you have to show both sets, so if I get rid of the first set of witnesses, nothing changes in the court case because you anyway have to bring the second set of witnesses. Okay, so therefore, according to Amir, you can cancel the first set of witnesses. But the Chachamim say you only need to bring one set of witnesses. But since you only have to bring one set of witnesses, you cannot cancel them out because otherwise you're affecting the outcome of the court case. You're negay b'davar. You're affecting the outcome of your court case. So you can't cancel them out. So again, Rameir hold because you need to bring both sets of witnesses. The first set of witnesses, you can say, I don't like them, you can disqualify them. Second set of witnesses, you cannot do that too. But if you hold it, the Rabbanan, that you only bring one set, even if you said you had two, therefore you cannot disqualify them because you only need to bring one. And then the Gemara continues, Aval bekat achat, if the guy comes in and I say I only have one set of witnesses, everyone agrees that Ephraim cannot passel my witnesses. So, understanding this part of the Gemara is, it's really not affecting the court case. It's just when you can actually passel one set of witnesses. According to Reb Meir, if you have two sets, I can get rid of the first set and say I don't want to listen to them because anyway, it's not going to change the outcome of the court case because you must bring in the second set of witnesses anyway. Okay? Question?
Yes, but maybe one of the members of the second set of the first set could be a better witness than one of the second set witnesses. You know what I mean?
So let's say. So your question is, let's say a second set of witnesses don't show up, or they're found out to be Adam Zayimim or whatever, the false witnesses. So then what happens? That's gonna be the Gemara's question. The Gemara's gonna bring it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, very good. Amr the fun of Rav Ami and Rav Asi. Rav Ami and Rav Asi said in front of Yochanan, Ein sham elakat achat mahu. What happens if you only have one set of witnesses? The Gemara says, one second, I just told you. Ein sham elakat achat. We said, but kat achat, when you have one set, everyone agrees that you can't get rid of them because then you're going to be nogea b'davar. You're going to be too much involved in the court case, and you're going to change the outcome. So then you cannot cancel them. The Gemara's question is no. Okay, this is the case. And like Ephraim was talking about. I said I have two set of witnesses. Beryl and Shmuel come. They give their testimony. And Ephraim comes in and says, Beryl and Shmuel, I don't want to listen to that. Oh, you know what? You can get rid of them because anyway, I have to bring Tony and John. We bring Tony and John in, and then we find out that Tony and John are my cousins. They're forbidden to give testimony. They're too closely involved. So now the question is, Ephraim canceled out my first set of witnesses. And now my second set of witnesses are puzzled. So now I'm left with nothing. Do we go back to the first set of witnesses or not? Mahu. What is the din? So Amr Lahain, Rabbi Yochanan said to them, the first witnesses have already testified, and they were canceled, and they remain canceled. This is Rashi's first chapter. Right now the Gemara continues saying, some said, he said the opposite. Amr Rashi, no, the first testimony was already there, and that stands. So the Gemara really doesn't give an answer. The Gemara says it can go both ways. Either you keep it, or you keep it canceled, or you remove the cancellation and keep them back there. Now, the Gemara does not give a final psak over here. Okay, give me 1 second. I just want to review some of the halachot up until this point. Okay. The first halakha comes from the Rambam. The Rambam says one witness cannot make someone chayav to pay. But one witness can make someone swear. If I say Ephraim owes me money and I bring one witness to that, then the Ephraim would have to swear that he does not owe me money. That's the halakha like we learned in the Gemara. A litigant is not halachically capable of disqualifying one of the other litigant's witnesses or one of the judges by testifying together with another witness that the witness or judge is guilty of theft or that he is from a family of concept. This according to the Rabbi Elazar's interpretation of the Chachamim. So that means that you cannot, I cannot the litigant and one other guy cannot come and passel a judge or a witness. You can't put them together because he's nogea b'davar. Now, like a Rameir said that I can come and say, oh, he's a family of slaves because it's indirectly. No, we do not say the Rameir. We hold like the Chachamim that even indirectly would be a problem. And the litigant cannot get involved in this. Okay. So far, those are the halachot that we got up to. Ephraim, you had a hand?
By you having one witness, making me to make a wow, what does it give you?
Say again?
If you only have one witness,
Right.
you force upon me to swear.
Yeah. What are we getting from that?
Yeah.
We're getting because if people would be scared to swear, to use Hashem's name. So you would get to the truth, kind of more veracity, more truthful. If you swear, we would believe you more that you don't know it. And if you'd be scared to swear, we would believe that you actually owe the money. I don't know. You're right.
I'm scared.
At the end of the day, a guy can just swear and nothing changes in the case. You're right.
Or even if he's scared to swear, he's not going to swear. You still cannot take my money away. It's my money. You have to prove that this is yours. In order to do that,
Right.
you
So then
need
the
to
question
witnesses.
is, if he doesn't want to swear, what happens? I do not know. Maybe we'll find out later. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's a good question. All right. Now, going back to the Gemara. We want to now compare this where Rameir says that you need to bring down both sets of witnesses, right? If I said I have two sets of witnesses, I have to bring both of them. I want to bring it to another case. Nema, it looked at the Rebbe, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel kemafligi. It's a machloket Rebbe, Rabbi Nasi, and Shimon ben Gamliel. The Tanya, a balidon b'shtar uvachazak. It comes to a court case with the shtar and chazaka. Okay, this is Masechet Bava Batra. Masechet Bava Batra deals with a property, ownership of property, and proof to property. So the way the Gemara over there, Paskins Halacha L'Maaseh, is that the biggest proof that you own something is the deed, the deed of sale that says that I bought it, your name is on it. That is the proof. However, the Chachamim realized that a person loses his contract after a while. If you ask me, where's my contract to my house right now, my deed of sale, I can find it. Give me a few days, probably. I'll find it for you. But the deed is somewhere. I don't know where it is. Chachamim realized that people will lose it after 3 years. So therefore, the Chachamim said that if a person doesn't have a shtar, there's another way to prove that he owns it. If he's living there for 3 years, and he has witnesses who say he's been living there for 3 years. This is called a chazaka, which means we can hold on to something to say that this person was there. Because he lived there 3 years tells us that it belongs to him. It's a hazakah, it's the strength that what he's saying is true. The fact that he was there for 3 years. So this is a court case. I sell a field to Ephraim. Ephraim buys it from me. Ephraim is living on that field for 3 years. And after 3 years, I come to the field and I say, Ephraim, what are you doing here? He says, what do you mean? I bought it. I say, nope, I never sold it. It's mine. So I take him to court. Now, Ephraim comes in and says, hey, I've been living there for over 3 years. And I'll prove to you it belongs to me. I have both the shtar, I have the deed sale, and I have witnesses who see me there for 3 years. Okay, so now, Dan Kalon, he spoke too much. Now the question is, do we force him to bring the shtar and the witnesses, or the witnesses that he's been living there for 3 years is enough? Because if he didn't say that he had the shtar, we would just need the witnesses who saw him there living there for 3 years. But now that he said he has the shtar, the contract, the deed of sale, which is the highest point of proof, do we force him to bring that in? That is the question. We want to compare this to Rabbi Meir, who says if you have two sets of witnesses, you have to bring in both. Okay? Now, Nidun Bishtar, Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says you have to bring in the contract, meaning the witnesses is not enough. The witnesses you bring, and you have to bring the contract. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, Nidun Mahazaka. You can judge the case just with witnesses who say you've been living there. The Gemara says, 1 second, and we question Shimon Gamliel, what do you mean? You judge him just with the chazaka? B'chazaka v'loy b'shtar? Does that mean only chazaka and not deed? Meaning also with the chazaka. Meaning, Shimon Gamliel says, if you want to bring the shtar, that's enough. If you want to bring the witnesses, that's enough. Either one is fine. But according to Rebbe, you have to bring the shtar and the witnesses. Because you said you had the shtar, now you must bring it in. Okay? So Rebbe says you have to bring in the shtar. You have the witnesses that you're living there for 3 years, and you have to have the shtar. Whereas if Shimon Gamliel says you can use either the shtar, the document, the contract, or you can bring the witnesses that said you lived there for 3 years. Now, the time along, the Vitzarech Levarer Pligi. Maybe we can establish this case that whether they hold, you have to show what you said or not. According to Rebbe, you would have to show because he holds. Once you say it, you have to bring it. According to Shimon Gamliel, no. Like the Chachamim in our case, it says you don't have to bring 2 sets of witnesses. The Gemara says no. You cannot compare the 2 cases. 2 cases are different. Look, according to Shimon Gamliel, no one's arguing. Everyone holds. Then he says you don't have to show everything. Keep pleading. When do they argue? Aliva the Rebbe, by Rebbe. Why? You think Rebbe holds like Rebbe Meir, that you have to show both. The Rebbe Meir, Kerebbe. The Rebbe Meir is like Rebbe, that you have to show both. You said you have both, you have to show both. The Rabbanan Amrillah, the rabbis will tell you that's not why Rebbe says you have to show the shtar. The reason Rebbe says you have to show a shtar is not because you have to show both. It's a different reason. The reason why Rebbe said you have to bring the shtar even though you have a chazaka is because, why do we say chazaka works? We say chazaka works because a person loses his contract after 3 years. But the whole power of chazaka comes from the contract. So Rebbe says, if you're saying you have the contract, the power of chazaka comes from contract, therefore bring the contract, because you said you have. But not because you have to show both, but rather because the power of witnesses of chazaka comes from the fact that you once had a contract. And now that you're saying you have the contract, you have to show that contract of al-hacha. But here in our case, Rabbi Meir, who says you have 2 sets of witnesses, you have to bring both sets of witnesses. These 2 sets of witnesses are not interdependent of each other. Their power doesn't come from one another. This is one set. This is one set. Therefore, according to the Rabbanan, Rebbe would say the ein tzarich levarer. You don't have to show both, because the only reason Rebbe holds you have to show the shtar and the witnesses that I lived there for 3 years is because they're related to each other. The witnesses is related to the documents. But when you have 2 sets of witnesses, they're nothing to do with each other. They're each giving separate testimony. Therefore, he would not say you have to bring both sets of witnesses. Okay? Fine. Now, I'm going to give now another explanation into the way Rav Meir said you can passel a witness. Right? Witnesses, which we said you can't really do that. So we had different explanations. We had the explanation, we have 2 sets of witnesses. We had the explanation where it's him and another witness disqualifying the family. We had Rish Lakish's opinion where it's talking about 1 witness, which we said cannot be because of the Lashon of the Mishnah. Now we're going to come to another case. When Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael to Babel, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. He says, Reisha be'edim pesulin ve'dayanin kesherin. Migui de pasale edim, pasale name dayane. Sefa be'dayanin pesulin ve'edim kesherin. De migui de pasale dayanin, pasale name edim. Okay, this is the way he's setting up the case. So me and Ephraim, we have this court case. I bring witnesses, he brings witnesses, he brings judges, I bring judges. Okay? So now, I come and I say that his judges are puzzle and his witnesses are possible. Okay, then I can't prove both, but I'm able to prove that the edim are possible. Because I proved the edim are possible, the judges become possible also. It's a migui. A migui causes, because I have it here, now you believe me there. Okay, so since I said everything's possible, his witnesses are possible, his judges are possible, and I'm able to prove the witnesses are possible, they're either a relative or they're playing in Atlantic City or they're going to Vegas and they're gambling away, I'm able to prove this. So now, because I cancel his witnesses, automatically his judges also get canceled. Okay, and the same way, the opposite way. I say his judges are possible, his witnesses are possible, and then I'm able to prove that one of his judges is a gambler. Okay, and now his judges cancel. Since his judges cancel, we believe him about the judge because he brought proof. Now we'll believe the witnesses also gets canceled. Now, Maskiv le Rava, Rava said, hold on. Bishlema migu v'psuli edim psuli nami dayone iko dina achrina. It all makes sense if you cancel the witnesses, you prove that they're apostle, and then you also cancel the judges based on that. Why? Because you can find another set of judges. You can go to another beit din. Elam migui, the apostle dayone, apostle nami edim. But you're saying if you apostle judges, you also apostle the witnesses. That doesn't make any sense. You cannot make new witnesses. You cannot go to a new, I got new witnesses. These are the witnesses. This is the two guys. There's no one else who saw anything. So because I'm apostling the judges, apostle the Adam too. You can't do that. Adam Tuleka, there are no other Adam. You can't just get rid of them because you apostle the judges. If you apostle the Adam and you want to go and apostle the judges too, fine. I'll find you new judges. But to apostle the judges and then apostle the witnesses that way, how are you doing that? So the Gemara says, no. This is where Meir says you can apostle them. Or Meir says if you apostle the judges, you can apostle the witnesses, but chichadika kat acheri is where he has two sets of witnesses. Meaning, so I apostle the judge, and then I apostle the first set of witnesses. Because I have another set of witnesses, I can apostle the first one because it doesn't change the outcome of the court case, because I'll have a second set. The Gemara says, Haleka kat acheri mai. If you don't have another set, then he cannot apostle them. The Gemara says, Hi and Rav Dimi. This is what Rav Dimi said. Rav Dimi said if you have two sets of witnesses, then you can apostle the first set because the second set will still be there. So Ravin is saying the same thing as Rav Dimi. The Gemara says, you're right, but there's one difference. Ikimanayu migoi. It's where you go through the migoi of since he was found truthful in one place, believe in another place. It's basically, since he cancels the judge, he can cancel the witness that way if there are two sets of witnesses. So he can cancel the first set of witnesses by apostling the judge, which will then lead him to apostle the witness. It's just another way to learn it. Okay, so you had a bunch of ways. You had the migui, apostle the judge, apostle the first set of witnesses. That's where Meir says you can apostle witnesses. You had the other case if he says I have two sets of witnesses, apostle the first set of witnesses. You have another way of learning is when it's him and another guy that comes and says that the witnesses belong to a mishpacha of avodim, of slaves, and therefore they can't give testimony. And then we had Rish Lakish's, which where it's one witness that comes, and one witness that comes, and what was the case with one witness? We said we can't use the one witness because it says edim and not edo, right? Fine. Oh, it's where we say we'll believe one as being two. Remember that? That's Rish Lakish. We say we can't say that because it says edav and not edo. So those are the ways to understand Rabbi Meir. Now, Gufa, it said, Amar Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish said it cannot be that Rabbi Meir said you can apostle witnesses because Torah said the witnesses are witnesses. You can't just come and apostle them. Rather, Rish Lakish wanted to switch it to one witness. Rish Lakish, teach it Edo. The Gemara says, any really Rish Lakish would talk like this and say, oh, he's a pek kadosh, and he's a holy mouth. Ula, Rish Lakish in Beit Midrash. You should see Rish Lakish in the Beit Midrash. Why? Rabbi Rish Lakish would take mountains and grind them. He would uproot mountains and grind them. Meaning, You would say a halacha. Rabbi Rish Lakish would take your halacha that you said and show you how you're wrong 1,000 ways. He would grind the whole thing you said and say, "Oh, this, nothing." So he would be strong against when someone says something. So why would he say pek kadosh? Ravina said, you should know this. You should have seen Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, he would make the greatest of mountains. You said a great halacha, really makes sense. He would take it, the most understanding halacha, and he would grind it up and show you that it's nothing. No, this is what the Gemara was saying. Come and see how much taller scholars cherished one another, how much they're mechavev, they loved one another. That Reish Lakish loved Rabbi Meir so much that he called him Pek Kadosh. Come look at an example. Rabbi was teaching Halchot Shabbat. On Shabbat, you're not allowed to take hot food and insulate it on Shabbat. Keep it hot, wrap it up on Shabbat to keep it hot. You're not allowed to do that. Rabbi Meir came and Rabbi Yehuda the Nasi came and said, you have a cold food, you're also not allowed to wrap it up on Shabbat. Because maybe you'll do that to hot food. That's what he said at halacha. He's teaching this. So Amar the founder of Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, says, hold on, Abba hitter lahatmin et hatzonen. But my father, Rabbi Yossi, he let that you should wrap up cold on Shabbat, which is a halacha. You're allowed to wrap up cold food on Shabbat to keep it cold, not to make it warm. So what did Rabbi Yehuda Nasi do? He said to them, already there was a halacha established, you're allowed to wrap up cold. So he was teaching the halacha, you're not allowed to wrap up cold. Then Rabbi Shmuel said, my father Rabbi Yossi says that you could wrap up cold. Oh, okay, he changed the halacha and said now it's like Rabbi Yossi. Papa says, look how much the Yehuda Nasi loves another rabbi. He loves Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi Kayam. Because if Rabbi Yossi was alive, Rabbi Shmuel's father, Rabbi Yossi was alive, the one who said this halacha, if he was in the Beit Midrash, or Rabbi Yehuda Nasi would be teaching, Hayat Kafuf, he would have sat there, the Yoshev Lifnei Rebbe, he would sit there humbly in front of Rebbe. He would not argue with Rebbe. He would change his halacha to be like Rebbe. The Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Yossi, was his father's successor. You see, Rabbi Ishmael, if he was alive, he would listen to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. But Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he loved another rabbi. He said the other rabbi said it's permissible, it now becomes permissible. And today the halacha l'maaseh is you're allowed to insulate cold food based on Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who went and paskin like Rabbi Yossi after Rabbi Shmuel told him that his father permitted it. See how much they love each other. Okay, Rabotai, well, we're going to end up over here. Efraim, you have a question?
Yes, so the topic of hatmana only covers the cold, so it has to be dealing with the hot food. There is no mention about any cold meal.
He was doing it as an gezerah. He was saying, if I let you wrap up
right,
food to keep it cold, you might think you can wrap up hot food to keep it hot. So therefore, he wanted to make a gezerah. Then he told him no, so he did it that way. We have a lot of gezerot like that. One of the reasons why on Shabbat, you're not allowed to clap your hands, right? You're not allowed to bang a tune on the table. Why? Because you might come to fix an instrument, which would be asur on Shabbat, right? Same thing, that's why you're not allowed to dance on Shabbat, right? Because that might lead you to fixing an instrument. That's quite far, if you think about it. It's quite far. You're not going to really come to fix an instrument, but you made a gezerah. I know by the Hasidim, they're not so careful about not dancing on Shabbat. If you're amongst Chabadnikim or other Hasidim, you'll see they might dance on Shabbat. We only, for Sfaradim, the only time we are lenient regarding dancing on Shabbat is if it's Shabbat Simchat Torah. Clapping and dancing, we're already much more lenient on Simchat Torah. Otherwise, we should be strict with it. Whether dancing in a circle is considered dancing, there's already poskim deal with that, and they say it's not really considered dancing. if you're just going in a circle, like you go to the Ashkenaz weddings, everybody's just going around in a circle. But if you dance the way we dance, that's definitely considered dancing, which would be asur on Shabbat. Okay. We stopped here on 24A2. 24A2, right, left column, the first paragraph on the left. That's the last thing that we learned. That is Hashem. So next week, Rabotai, due to our sins, if Mashiach does not come, we're going to not have shiur because it's Sunday, Tisha B'Av. So the plan would be, I think the plan that we agreed to is the week after, we're going to maybe have a little bit of an extended, instead of an hour, probably hour and a half shiur to cover everything. So we get onto the same page as the other group. Okay, it's good. I'm gonna shut the recording. I'll take any questions you have at this time.